Shir Ve'ele Nishmas Shmuel ben Baruch, being sponsored by his family on the 20th yortzeit of Shmuel ben Baruch. He is Zichrei Baruch, and the shir is for Refuah Shalema for Mickey Sunshine, Mikimia Marina Bas Peshabela. Baruch Hu send Refuah Shalema to Mickey Sunshine, who also sponsors the shir. Mikimia Marina Bas Peshabela, Baruch Hu send her Refuah Shalema the Karav Mamash. Today's Parshat is Re'eh. Re'eh C. Now it's very interesting. The Torah is very exact when it uses the tenses. Why does it start out Re'eh, which is Lashon Yochid, and then switches Lefnechem? It's Devarim 11, Pasuk 26. Re'eh is Lashon Yochid. See, you see. And then the Torah switches Lefnechem. It should have said Re'eh, Lefanecha. So why? It's very strange that the Torah would mix tenses in the middle of a verse. Never happens except here. Rare occasions other places. But you hear the question, Sarah, on the table, why Re'eh is Lashon Yochid, Lefnechem is Lashon Rabim. I see, I place, God says, in front of you guys, Bracha and Klala. So what's the message for us? You know, this parsha is always read right before the month of Elul, no koinky dinky. Right before the month of Elul, which we are on now, standing in front Shabbos is Chodesh Elul. The Gemara in Kiddushin tells us that a person should always vision himself Chetzia Zakai v'Chetzia Chayav. A person should always imagine that he's not a Rasha, that he's not a Tzaddik, he's a Beinoni. He's 50-50. And the whole world is what? 50-50. Gemara in Kiddushin says. So if you do one mitzvah, you give bracha to yourself and the entire world. If you're 50-50 and the world is 50-50, Chetzeh Zakeh, Chetzeh Chayav, so one mitzvah gives you bracha to you and the entire world. You tip the scale, 51 against 50. But Chas V'Sholom, you do one Aveirah, you're not just bringing klala to that person himself, but he's also lady bringing klala to the whole world, because now he's tipping the scale in what? In the chayav. How does the Gemara in Kiddushin know that? Garrison, keep in mind that all the statements of the oral Torah, not all, the 99%, Rabbi Nachman, have to have a source in the Chumash. How does the Gemara know that? That you're chetzeh zakai, chetzeh chayav, one mitzvah, you give yourself bracha, the whole world bracha. One Aveira, a person who gives himself klala, not only himself, the whole world. How does the Talmud know that, Rabbi Avram? This is the verse. Re'eh, Lashon Yochid. You, if you do a mitzvah, you bring bracha to you and Lefnechem, the whole world. Chas v'sholom. The individual does an Aveira, lo yaleinu, he brings klala to himself and also the whole world. So it starts out Lashon Yochid, individual. But the individual affects the rabbim. Bracha klala is up to the individual. The individual. Sarah, I want to sing that song. You got the whole world in your hand. You got the whole world in your hand. Gershon, the song comes from this pasuk. Literally, you have the whole world in your hand. One mitzvah, you give bracha to yourself and the whole world. One aveira chas v'sholom, a person brings klala to himself and the whole world. So therefore, the Torah switches from Lashon Yochid to what? To Rabbim. To Rabbim, right? Then the Torah goes on and says, Devarim 11:27, which I command you today. And then again in verse 28, hayom. So we know there's no repetition in the Torah. What does verse 27 say? The bracha which you will listen, which I command you today. In verse 28, 11:28, and the klala if you won't listen, and what again, which I command you today. Why keep repeating the word what? Today. Today. Today is the first day, the rest of your life. Seize the day, Shirley. Seize the day. How do you say that in? That's what it is. So the Torah keeps repeating, Mitzvah eschem hayom. Ashanochi mitzvah eschem hayom. You got to seize the day. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And here the Torah goes on in Devarim 11:31. When you cross the Jordan, you come to possess the land of Israel. You shall possess the land and live there. Seems to be redundant, Sarah. If I'm living there, I'm possessing it, right? So the Ramban wonders about that. Possess her and live there. Well, if you're living in the land, aren't you possessing her? So Nachmanides says, no, these are two mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to live in the land of Israel. There's also a mitzvah to possess her by having Jewish sovereignty in this country. So the great Nachmanides, I think he would say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut. Because if you read his Perush, he says it's not redundant. There are two mitzvahs here. The Yishaftem Bos, to live here. The Yerishtem Osa is a mitzvah to possess the land by having a Jewish government in the land of Israel. So I think he was Haredi, Nachmanides, in the year 1265 when he wrote this comment, and he says just living here is not enough. There has to be a Jewish government in the land of Israel. Now this mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael, the Sifri says the Shkula Yishuv Eretz Yisrael Shkula Keneget Kol HaMitzvah Shebetorah, that the mitzvah to live in Israel equals all the other mitzvahs. So the Pischei Tshuva in Even Ezra Siman Ayin Hey, everybody follows the Pischei Tshuva. Misnagdim, Sfardim, Chasidim, Ashkenazim, everybody. And he says in Even Ezra Siman Ayin Hey, he brings this to free that living in the land of Israel equals all the mitzvahs, and he adds Af Bizman Hazeh. He says even today the mitzvah to live in Israel is the greatest of all mitzvahs. You might think it's only when the temple stood. No, even today, buy one, get 613. Jews love bargains. Now this is a Pischei Tshuva, Even Ezra Siman Ayin Hey. Before him, Rabbi Abramson, the Trumas Hadeshen, who was a Rishon. In Periches, he writes that Gam Bizman Hazeh, the mitzvah to live in Israel is the greatest of all mitzvahs, even today. So before the Pischei Tshuva said that Trumas Hadeshen also said that living in the land of Israel is the greatest of all mitzvot. And the Torah goes on in the Devarim 12:1, these are the chukim and the mishpatim that you should observe to do where? Ba'aretz. Eila chukim ha-mishpatim. The Devarim 12:1, the Torah is meant to be kept, blasa is ba'aretz. Chukim are laws between what? Man and God, and mishpatim are laws between man and man. Asher tishbun lasot ba'aretz. So the mitzvahs are meant to be kept where? In Eretz Yisrael. Now, you got to look inside this. You don't have an extra book, it's important to look inside. This is something, Rabbi Abrams, you don't have a book? It's important. If you look, the Devarim 12, Pasuk 4 and 5. Keep in mind there are no extra, maybe you can double up and give a book over here, do you mind? It's important to see it inside. Devarim 12, Pasuk 4 and 5, keep in mind there are no extra words in the Torah.
Thank you very much.
Devarim 12, Pasuk 4, it says, Ba'ata Shama, you should come. Devarim 12, Pasuk 5, Kiyim Elamokam Ashiyivcha, you should come and bring your karbonos to the place which God will choose to rest his name there. Uba'ata Shama. Now you already told me you should come to that place which Hashem shall choose from all your tribes to rest his name there. And it says, Uba'ata Shama. And you should come over there. And then in case you didn't get it, the very next verse, Vaveitem Shama. You already said Uba'ata Shama. You shall come over there with your karbanot. So why the very next pasuk in Devarim 12, pasuk 6, after telling me in verse 5 about the Shama, says again, V'eitem Shama, you should bring your karbonos there. You already told me that, 5. Why keep repeating the word Shama? There's no repetition in the Torah. Fasten your seatbelt, Shirley. If you look at the last verse in Sefer Yecheskel, the very last verse, Yecheskel says the Mashiach comes, the name of Jerusalem will change. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Right, Rabbi, the last pasuk in Yecheskel, he says, the Shem Ha'ir. When Mashiach comes, the name of the city will not be Jerusalem, it'll be Hashem Shama. Where's Yecheskel coming from? Remember, everything in the Navi has to have a source where? Where? In Chumash. So Yecheskel's coming from here. Ba'ata Shama, V'eitem Shama. Shama, that's the name of the city of Jerusalem when Mashiach comes. So the city hall will have to change all their envelopes, right? The Masach Nasa with the water bills and what's it called? Arnona, scratch it out. Shama. Hashem Shama. So that's why Yechezkel is coming. Over there, Hashem Shama. And it's repeated again in Devarim 12, verse 11. L'shaken Shemo Sham, Shama. Incredible. If you look at the verse, it jumps out at you. You ain't got a book. It's Devarim 12, Pasuk 11. God will rest his name Sham. And then it says Shama. Sham means over there. What does Shama mean? What's the difference between Sham and Shama?
Hey.
What?
Hey.
It's mamish, it jumps at you, Devarim 12:11. God will rest his name there, Sham, and oh, by the way, Shama. So here, Yechezkel is coming from, the name of the city will change. It won't be called El Quds, but it won't be called Jerusalem either. So Hashem Shama. Muvah Basra, page 75, Rabbi Emerson says that the word Hashem Shama on Yechezkel can be also read Hashem Shema. Her name will be Hashem. Because there are no dots in Yechezkel, there are no dots in the Tanakh, right? So Hashem Shama. So the authorized version is Hashem is going to be there. But the word Shama, without dots, can Shama, their name. Her name will be Hashem. The city of Jerusalem's name will be Hashem. Okay? Hashem Shama. God is her name. God is her name. Nachon? Hashem is, God is her name. Now, a very strange verse. Devarim 14:1. Devarim 14:1, you are God's children. And by the way, don't mutilate yourself for the dead, as the Shiites do. Devarim 14:1, you are God's children. Don't cut yourself and scratch yourself for a dead person. What does the beginning of the verse got to do with the end of the verse? Gershon, we have two ideas in one pasuk. What is being God's children? Oh, by the way, don't act like a Shiite. They beat themselves with chains and they cut themselves.
Mutilating God's work that God created.
Very good. So one explanation, like you said, Abraham, Rashi says, since we are God's children, we cannot mutilate ourselves because the body belongs to Hashem. Hanesham alach v'aguf palach, right? God, the soul is yours, the body is yours. So since Hashem gave us the body, we have no right to mutilate it. We are God's children. And in a deeper explanation, since God is our Father, Father knows best. Remember that show?
Yes.
So you're not supposed to go overboard in mourning. Father knows best. We are God's children, so don't express yourself crazily by mourning, by going out of your kishkis, by mutilating yourself, cutting yourself. Father knows best. Hashem has his plan, and we know that the person is in a better world now. So therefore, you're not supposed to mourn overboard. But it's an amazing, Rav Kook has an incredible idea here, Rav Kook. If you read the Hebrew, you are God's children. Don't mutilate yourself and don't scratch yourself between your eyes for the dead. Now we know, Rav Nochem, that any place you're not allowed to scratch yourself. You're not allowed to mutilate yourself, scratch as a sign of mourning. It's not just between the eyes. You're not allowed any place on the body. A Jew is not allowed to cut himself or scratch himself as a sign of mourning. Why does the Torah say Bein Einechem Lamet? Bein Einechem Lamet, Devarim 14:1. Between your eyes for the dead. You get a question, Masha? You're sitting down, right? Says the great Rav Kook. For your eyes only he looks dead. It's an illusion. We'll talk more about that on Sunday. Why a Kohen may a Kohen enter Kever Ochel, and why a Kohen has to stay away from a dead body. Rav Kook said it's the ultimate lie. Bein Einechem Lamet. Any place on the body you can't scratch yourself. So why does it say between your eyes dead? For your, remember that song? For your eyes only he looks dead. But he's not really dead. He's on the other side. To your eyes he looks dead. Incredible, Rav Kook. Rak li'anechem hu met. But he's living in Olam Haba. He's living in God's bosom. So therefore, don't go overboard by expressing grief to an extreme degree. Pretty incredible. What?
You couldn't put on the film.
Why couldn't you put on tefillin?
You scratch yourself. There.
But tefillin not between the eyes, tefillin are on top of the head. But there's a law in the Torah, Sarah, you're not allowed to scratch yourself any place for a dead person. Why does it say Bein Anechem? Here, Rav Kook, if you read the Hebrew, it says Bein Anechem Lamet. Between your eyes he looks dead. But he's not really dead. It's an illusion. It's the ultimate sheker, says Rav Kook. Therefore, Kahanim have to stay away. Because Kahanim represent HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's God's John Hancock?
True.
Emet. So Kahanim represent the big boss. They have to stay away from death. It's a lie. It's an illusion. Bein Anechem Lamet.
So why do they have to stay away from the dead?
Sunday at 2. That's a cliffhanger. Sunday at 2. Be there or be square. Okay? Pretty interesting, right? Now, the only mitzvah in the Torah, there's a law in the Torah, you're not allowed to test Hashem. But every rule, Sarah, has an exception. Devarim 14, verse 22, says, Aser tiaser. Tithe, you shall tithe. Devarim 14, 22. Every Jew at 22. Gemara in Tainus says, I'm going to tithe, you shall tithe. It seems to be redundant. So the Gemara in Tainus tells us, Aser, Bishvil tetis asher. There are no dots in the Torah scroll. The word ta'asher can be read what? Ta'asher. If you give 10%, you're going to become rich. This is the only mitzvah where God says what? Test me. Tells the prophet Chagai, you can test me on this mitzvah. Asher, what? Chalani gam bezot, right? If God will not come through. So no, you can't play. Remember, Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall. Remember that? He was Jewish, I think. Just died recently. He was in his 90s. Let's make a deal. You don't make a deal with God. Which mitzvah can you make a deal with God? Tzedakah. Asher, God says, give 10%, b'shvil tetis asher, then you'll become what? Rich.
That's why we say b'schar zeh in the when somebody should another is.
Right, b'schar zeh.
You can say b'schar zeh.
Right. Right. Now, if you take a look, when it comes to giving, it's all written double. Aser te aser, tithe you shall tithe. So the Gemara learns, another Gemara in Ksubis 50 learns from here, that the minimum you should get is aser. What is aser plus another 10? 20. So that's the range. Not less than 10, but not more than 20. You're not supposed to give more than 20. Aser to aser. 10 is the minimum. To aser another 10, but not more than a fifth. So that's a push-up shot. Because you have to take care of yourself and your family also. So aser, the minimum is 10, the maximum is another 10. Avi, 10 plus 10 is 20%, that's the maximum. But it's more than that. Or Chaim HaKodesh points out, when it comes to giving, it's all double. Aser to aser. And then Devarim 15:10, Nosain titain, give you shall give. Tzedakah. Devarim 15:11. Potach tiftach as yatcha. Open up your hand. We know, Sarah, there are no extra letters in the Holy Torah. There's exactly 304,805 letters in the Torah scroll. Rachmil. If you don't believe me, you can count. There ain't even one extra letter. So why, when it comes to giving, Evelyn, does the Torah keep saying aser te aser, tithe you shall tithe, nosain titain, give you shall give the poor guy, potach tiftach, open up your hand. I get the picture. Give, open up your hand. Why is it redundant? What?
You give to get, and you're going to give, you're going to get. So
That's true too. That's true too. But it's right. You get, you'll get back.
But that's not what you.
But look at the word noson. The word noson, titain. The word noson is written the same way forwards and backwards, no? Natan, right? Nen, nun, taf, vav, nun. It could be read that, like you said, natan, if you give, you're going to get back. The word natan, to give tzedakah, is written the same way forwards and backwards. Nun, taf, vav, nun, Rabbi Avram. Vilna Gaon makes your point. Make my day. Your husband, the Chabon to Vilna Gaon. Make my day. If you give, you get back. I think it's called boomerang. But that doesn't explain why it's written twice, give. The word nosan itself is written forwards and backwards the same way. So Chaim HaKodesh, and why Pesach Tiftach, open up your hand. Open up your hand, nachamol.
Nachamol.
How do you say nachamol in English?
Another
Thank you.
time.
I mean, the Torah doesn't repeat it. Every word is Kodesh Kadashim. So the Klei Yakar says something incredible. Why, when it comes to giving, it's always a double expression? Because a person has two mitzvahs to give. He can give money with his hand, but he can give a shmeichel also. A shmeichel.
Give with a smile.
And he quotes in Klei Yakar. His name is Rabbeinu Ephraim. He quotes the Gemara in Bava Basra, page 9. If you give without a shmeichel, with a kind word, you get 6 brachas. 6 brachas. But if you add a nice word with a smile, you get 11 brachas. So nosain titain. Give with your hand and give with your mouth, with your expression. Like some people, when they give tzedakah, it's like they're constipated. You know? You again? Oh. You were just here last year. It's a year, right? It's a year. What? So nosain titain. But Basta page 9, you give, you get 6 brachas. You add a kind word with a smile, you get 11 brachas. Wow. Pesach tiftach. Nosain titain. Rashi says, I feel a meya pamim. Nosain titain. You have to keep giving as long as you don't exceed 20%. Right, Masha? Between 10 and 20%. Now, Chofetz Chaim was asked, a lot of people give, and they don't get rich. He says, because it has to be exact. You have to tithe exactly. Even if you're under the table, you know. If you tithe exactly, you'll become rich. If it doesn't happen because you don't keep good books, Hashem keeps good books. If you give 10% exactly from all your income, under the table, over the table, right, this side, that side, then you'll become rich. But you can't fool the big boss. Then you can't fool the big boss, right? And another explanation, surely, is that a person gives 10% and his bank account doesn't go up, his perspective in life will change. See, he doesn't need a Mercedes-Benz in a pool. His attitude will change. If you become a giving person, then you will become rich. Ezer Ashir, what does the Mishnah say? Ezer Ashir? Samech Bechelkai. Your eyes will open up. You don't need a Mercedes. You don't need a pool with a condo. Bicycles also good. Perspective in life. You will become rich. Your hashkaf in life will change. A giving person becomes a better person. A giving person becomes a better person, right? Right. Now it's interesting. You say asa to aser. How do we know that? Tithe you shall tithe, and right after that, Laman Tilma V'yirat Hashem Lakecha. Right after the Torah says, Nevi'im 14:22, tithe you shall tithe, in order you will learn to fear Hashem your God. Giving leads to Yirat Hashem. You become a giving person, you become Rachum V'chanun Mahu Afata. You become godlike. V'lachta b'drachav. How do you walk in God's ways? Walk like this. Who said it? Remember Groucho War? Groucho, walk this way.
Act like him.
Act like him. Become giving. God is constantly giving. Kol anshama hallelujah, hallelujah. Al kol neshima v'neshima hallelujah. Every time you breathe, not automatic pilot. Hashem is giving us the breath of life every minute. So when we give, we are acting God-like. V'lachta b'drachav. So we become like God and we learn to fear Him. Our perspective, our shkaf in life changes. Our focus changes. Becoming better people, kinder people, and realizing that you don't need $1 million in the bank to be happy. Eza Oshir, this lady said, Samech Bechelko. Samech Bechelko, right? Pretty incredible. Now, this Parsha again is always read right before the month of Elul, the month of Tshuva, right? So the Maftir's Chag HaSukkos Tashalacha. The Maftir this week's Parsha speaks about the holiday of what? Of Sukkot. Tashalacha. You shall make the holiday of Sukkot. How do you make a holiday of Sukkot? Sukkot comes in whether you make it or not, no? What do you Chag HaSukkos Tashalacha? So the Gemara learns from here, V'loi min asui. That what? That even though you have a sukkah standing from last year, Masha, you gotta what? Climb a ladder and play around with the bamboo sticks. Right, Maddie? Why? The sukkah's standing perfect. I mean, perfect. No. Tasalachog. The more Sukkah says, no, v'lemin asui. Climb a ladder and rearrange the bamboo sticks. What is it, playing a game? What's going on over here, Avi? You're sitting down, Avi. Says the Holy Vilna Gaon. That's something incredible. The great Zion Vilna Gaon, he tried to come here. Samidim came here, he couldn't make it here. He said there are only 2 mitzvahs in the Torah that you do with your entire body. Living in a sukkah. What? Don't mix me up. What? Shirley, what? I get it. Shirley hit a home run here. There's a pasuk in Tehillim 76. He b'shalem. Which means you do b'shleimut? Sukkah menosa d'tzion. Living in a sukkah and living in Pisgat Zev. I mean in Ashkelon. Rechavia. Vilna Gaon quotes that pasuk, Maddie. The he b'shalem. Which mitzvah you do b'shleimut? With your entire body, living in a sukkah, living in Zion. So Shirley said, what about?
Mikvah.
Wait, Shirley, can you go to the mikvah with your boots on? Why not? You got to take your boots off. Living in Israel, living in a sukkah, even with your boots on. With your whole, what? Even with your leather jacket. Remember the fans? Even with your leather jacket. You can't go to the mikveh with your leather jacket, right? But living in a sukkah, living in Eretz Yisrael, Avi, even with your leather jacket and your boots on. Says the Vilna Gaon, those are the only 2 mitzvahs you do with your b'shleimut. Psalm 76. And he says, Chag HaSukkah is tasalacha. The Vilna Gaon is talking. Just like Sukkot is not automatic, you have to do it. So the same thing with Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, said the Vilna Gaon. You can't wait for the Messiah. Just like the sukkah, the Messiah is not going to build you a sukkah, right, Masha? You got to build it. You got to build Eretz Yisrael, said the great Vilna Gaon in 1796. Yiddish? Wow, Golda Yiddish? Pretty incredible Vilna Gaon. He tried to come here. He got shipwrecked. Couldn't make it here. He tried to get shipwrecked. Shanghaied. But his Talmidim came. In 1801. Herzl didn't come on the scene till when?
20.
100 years later.
Herzl, when did he come on the scene?
100 years later.
1801, his Talmidim came. The Pat HaShulchan. Min HaGra, Yerushalayim. They came here, his Talmidim. Because Chag HaSukkah is Tasalacha, just like a sukkah. You have to do it. It's not automatic. So Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is the Zelda Zach, said the Vilna Gaon. Pretty incredible. Chag HaSukkah is Tasalacha. Now, the famous question. Sukkot commemorates the magic clouds of glory, right? When do we get the magic clouds of glory, Abraham? In Nisan. Look at Exodus 17. When we left Egypt, we got the magic clouds of glory. So we should be sitting in Sukkah, Shirley, when? On Pesach. You should be asking, Ma nishtana on Pesach. So really, the Anani HaKoved, we didn't get in Tishrei, we got when? Nisan. When did you get the magic clouds? Read the text from Hibashala Parat Am. We're surrounded by Amud Eish, right? Amud Anan, Amud Eish. So why not sit in the sukkah when? Pesach time, what?
Was it really after Yetzias Mitzrayim?
No, Hibashala Parat Am. It says the Amud Eish kicked in right away. So if the sukkah is commemorating the Anani HaKoved, which it is, why you sit in the sukkah? After Yom Kippur, you should be sitting when?
Before.
Pesach time. You should be drinking the 4 cups of wine, Golda, where? In the sukkah. So there are many answers. I don't want to get into that. I want to give you the answer my Bnei Yissaschar says, by Eltazeda, Bnei Yissaschar. He says something incredible. He's sitting down. Why Sukkot comes after Yom Kippur? It don't belong there. Avi belongs in Nisan. He says as follows. On Yom Kippur, Why is it the happiest day on the Jewish calendar? Right? The Mishnah and Taina says the happiest day in the Jewish calendar was what? Yom Kippur. Because we do tshuva mehava, the sin becomes a win. You like that? Ain't that a reason to be happy, Ray? The sin, tshuva mehavas donot nasla k'zchuyot. Gemara in Yuma, page 86. You do tshuva mehava, your sin becomes what? A mitzvah. Your sin becomes a win. That's why Yom Kippur is the happiest day in the Jewish calendar, according to the Mishnah. I'm from Missouri. I mean, I'm not really, but I'm from Williamsburg. But Williamsburg. I'm from Williamsburg.
Show me.
I'm from the show me. I say, hey God, come on. Are you serious? He's sitting down. Oh. For the schach represents the anane hakovod, God's loving embrace. You would think you would use delicious what? Pomegranates, grapes, dates, and figs. Use that for schach? It's puzzle. What do you use for schach? Psolet. What does psolet mean? Who said that? Isn't that bizarre? Golden. To represent the Anani Yakovod, which is the Shechina, why do you use garbage for? It's so bizarre. Masha, I would say delicious grapes, figs, dates, pomegranates. I mean, gold and diamonds. Why do you use psolet? Dafke psolet. Says my Ne'esosker, my Elta Zayda. God's in the recycling business. God's in the recycling business. The reason you sit in a sukkah right after Yom Kippur and you use the Anani Yaakov, you use dafka rubbish, God says, what you just did on Yom Kippur, you recycled your sins, it's now all the way up to the Kisei HaKavod. You don't believe it? Look at the sukkah. Look at the schach. It was rubbish, but that your recycled sins. Now your sins are a win. The sukkah is a tangible symbol that your tshuva worked. Hashem loves us so much that He gave us sukkahs what? After Yom Kippur, not when it belongs in Nisan, to demonstrate that my garbage, my averos have now been recycled. They're now mitzvahs. The proof is they now belong to the Ananei HaKavod. So that's why you use schach, dafke, rubbish, psolet, and not anything else. That's a tangible symbol that the tshuva on Yom Kippur, what? Worked. That my sin is now a win. It now belongs to the Ananei HaKavod. That's the Shekhinah. That's pretty incredible. What?
You can't do
Or, Rachmiel mentions this Rebbe in the yeshiva, I think it was my yeshiva in the 7th grade. He asked, boys, what do you have to do tshuva? The first thing you have to do, don't steal my line. So I said, Rebbe, the first thing you have to do tshuva, first you have to sin. It's true, no? If you don't sin, you can't do tshuva. Last week's Parsha, when Moshe is getting the second tablets, Hashem tells him to build an ark. Rachmiel, my Talmud, asked Ramban's kasha, how come by the first tablets Hashem didn't tell him to build an ark? Strange, Golden, no? Dafke, the second tablets, last week we read it, Hashem says, make yourself a box to put the luchos in. But how come he didn't tell him the first luchos? Says the Ramban, because God knew that the first luchos are going to be broken. It was a setup. Why didn't God command us to make a box for the first luchos? And Moshe didn't even ask. So the Ramban says God and Moses knew, are you sitting down? That the first luchos were destined to be smashed to smithereens. No need for a box. Which luchos are holier, the first or the second? The first, all God did. The second was a combination between Moses and God. Second are holier. What's the proof? Because the first ones were broken. Second ones are still here. The second luchos represent what? The Baal Tshuva. And therefore, Soloveitchik said We read in Vaschanan, the second 10 commandments, Laman Yitavloch. The first 10 commandments don't have Laman Yitavloch. The first 10 commandments don't have Laman Yitav. Why is that good for you? Where's the words Laman Yitavloch? It's good for you. Where? After the second tablets. It says also, why? Because the first tablets, we were Tzaddik Gomor. A goody two-shoes, never sinned. The second tablets, we got what? After the Chet Egel, and we did tshuva. The tshuva turned the sin into a win. I like that. Therefore, Laman Yitavloch is only by the second tablets, after we sinned and did tshuva, where you can turn your sin into a win. So the second tablets are better, because they're given after we sinned and after we did tshuva. So we recycled that sin into a mitzvah. And the proof is what? The schach. Are you getting how it all comes together? Come together right now. Laman Yitavloch. Says Valsavet, the second tablets are better. That because you sinned, you did tshuva. And the tshuva me'ahava turned the sin into a mitzvah. So that's good for you. So the first tablets were destined to be broken.
The world was created with tshuva.
But tshuva was created before the world. Right? That's pretty incredible. Tshuva was created before the world. The awesome power of tshuva. Rav Tzaddik HaKohen, Tzidkat HaTzaddik, the pre-Tzaddik, says, Adam and Chava, they were God's own handiwork. How could they disobey him? How could they disobey him? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, God walked with the... Who walked Chava down the aisle? The Gemara Sanhedrin. Who walked Chava down the aisle? Hashem. Who braided her hair? Look in verse Sanhedrin. God was her hairdresser. Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Ray, you getting this? That Kodesh Baruch Hu Kaviochel was Chava's hairdresser. He braided her hair and he walked her down the aisle. How could they disobey him? Says Rav Tzaddik HaKohen. They knew, but we know, that B'mokam Shebalo Tshuva Omed Tzaddik Gomel Yochel Lamod. They knew that a Baal Tshuva stands much closer to God than a goody two-shoes. So they deliberately sinned in order to do tshuva. Because when you do tshuva, the sin becomes a win. What was their mistake? The mistake is they deliberate. Tshuva works if you sin spontaneously. Why do you say that in Hebrew? Spontaneous. But the Mishnah Yuma says if someone goes with a premeditated game plan, I'm going to sin. In order to do tshuva, it doesn't say you can't do tshuva. God won't help you to do tshuva. You can still do tshuva, but God won't help you. So that was their mistake. Sin is supposed to spontaneous, you sin. Who said the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak? Who said that? But to go with a premeditated game plan, then the whole reason that you're sinning is because you want to do tshuva, then the tshuva becomes the reason for your sin. Of course it's not going to work. But that was their mistake. It was an honest mistake, Avi. Because they knew that about tshuva stands much closer to Hashem. The Rambam Hilchos Tshuva says about tshuva stands much closer to Hashem than what? Than a tzaddik gomor. But that's only when you sin spontaneously. Everybody does. Sheva yipol tzaddik, v'kam. The tzaddik falls 7 times. Mishle, v'kam. But he keeps getting up. But that was their mistake. It was an honest mistake. And the Medrash says that Taka Adam and Chava did tshuva, despite the premeditation. God didn't help them, because God only helps you if you sin spontaneously and do tshuva. But if you put a premeditated game, he won't help you. But you can still do tshuva. They did tshuva. It became closer to him, the Zohar says, after the chet. Because they turned the sin into a win. The awesome power of tshuva. God expects us to fail, but he expects us to what?
Get up.
Get up, Lucia. Sheva yipol tzaddik v'kam. Mishlei. The tzaddik will fall 7 times. Evan Ezra says the word 7 in the Bible means many. So why is he called a tzaddik? Because he keeps getting up. But the Baal Shem Tov puts another spin on it. Only when a person falls 7 times and he doesn't give up, he doesn't fall into despair, he keeps getting up, only then is he called a tzaddik. Only then is he called a tzaddik. It's pretty incredible. Soloveitchik has a beautiful, Baruch Hashem, have these tapes, Rabbi Aberson, the Yiddish tape, where he was a bren back in the early 50s. Someone had the presence of mind, Yiddish Golda, to bring a tape recorder into the shir. It probably looked like a suitcase.
It's a reel to reel.
A real big, and sometimes he says, "Famach the tape, famach the tape." He wants to say, he was a bren in Yiddish. Baruch Hashem, I understand. He's picked a classic Yiddish. Famach the tape. You hear a click, he wants to off the record, then he turns it on again. He says something incredible. I'll translate into English. Why did Yaakov Avinu pass over Yosef HaTzadik to be the Melech in Israel? Who was more worthy than Yosef HaTzadik? What the brothers did to him of Abraham, how did he repay them? Only with kindness and more kindness. So benevolent, so loving, so great. He was the king in Egypt 80 years. He became king at 30. Mashi died at 110. So loving, so benevolent. Such a tzaddik. Such a tzaddik. Why did Yaakov pass him over and take it away from him and give it to whom? To Yehuda. The man was such a tzaddik. Our Rashi Rav Goldstein Zechariah told us, if you analyze a question very, very carefully, half the answer is where?
Question.
Question again. Yosef was such a tzaddik, such a tzaddik, such a tzaddik. Why did Yaakov take away the kingship from him and give it to Yehuda?
He didn't make a mistake to do tshuva.
What?
He needed to do tshuva. He needed to make a mistake.
Yosef was a perfect tzaddik. Mrs. Potiphar tried to seduce him over and over again. He said, I can't do that. Tzaddik over. Yehuda sinned. He sinned. But why did he get the kingship and the messiahship? Because he sinned. He wasn't the oldest. Reuben, Shimon, Yehuda. He sinned, but he did tshuva. He sinned with Tamar, and he sinned with brother Joe, but he did tshuva. He became the Messiah. He, David, and Yehuda, because they sinned, and they did tshuva. Yosef HaTzadik was too perfect. You can't be a king. You're too perfect. You have nothing to give me. You're a goody two-shoes. You're a malach. You can't teach me anything. Who can be a leader? Who can relate to the people? A person that sinned, like David and Yehuda, and did tshuva. You're my role model. If you can do it, I can do it. But Yosef HaTzadik was too perfect. You can't teach the people. You're a malach. You don't belong in this world. And with this idea, the Soloveitchik said, I want to apply, Rabbi Abraham, you know, I live in Pisgat Zev. You know what we're infamous for? Pisgat Zev, archaeologists all agree that Pelegesh Begiva took place in my neighborhood. Yeshivas, they skip it. I know you learned it. They skip it.
What does that mean in English, Rabbi?
In Pisgat Zev, these Benjaminites gang raped and murdered a woman. And as a result, a civil war broke out. The Gemara in Shabbos says there are 4 people that never sinned. One of them is Binyamin. He's called Yedid Hashem. Beloved of God, never sinned. How could he have such wicked, evil, corrupt grandchildren? He's a Yedid Hashem. He's the guy that never sinned, never. How could he have such wicked grandchildren? Sarah, please hear me. My Rashiva, Rav Goldstein Zechariah Gevracha on Har Tzion told me, if you analyze a question very carefully, half the answer is where?
Any question?
Grandpa, you can't teach me. You're a malach. You don't know what it's like out there in the real world. Binyamin couldn't teach his grandchildren. He was too perfect. He never sinned, doesn't know what it means to sin. He couldn't be a role model for them. He couldn't teach them anything. So never he had such wicked, corrupt grandchildren. Because in order to teach and be a role model, you have to know what it's like to fail. And to get up despite the failure. Binyamin never tasted failure. He didn't know what he's a malach. Grandpa, you're a fuddy-duddy. You can't relate to you. You can't teach me anything. Strange. So Tzafka, David, and Yehuda who sinned, who they became the Mashiach. Pretty incredible. Then Torah, at the end of the parsha, speaks about all the Chagim. Speaks about all of the Chagim. The Somachta lefnei Hashem Elokecha. So you shall rejoice, you, your son, your daughter, your servant, the Levi, the Ger, the Yosef Almana. Now I get the picture, Sarah. Yom Tov, you have to rejoice. Why do you have to be so specific? You have to rejoice on Yom Tov. Your son, your daughter, your servant, the Levi, the Ger, the Yosef Almana. I get the picture. Rejoice. So Rashi quotes Chazal something incredible. Levi, Ger, Yosef Almana. The Levi, because in those days the Levites, they didn't work. They lived on Trumas and Meiser, right? The Ger, the Yosef Almana, the Miskenim, a convert. He's rejected by, he left the paganism, and the Jews don't treat him so nice, unfortunately. The Yosef, the Almana, the widow and the orphan. Rashi quotes Chazal, Arba Sheli Keneged Arba Shalcha. God says, who are mine? Who is my intimate family? God says, the Ger, the Yosef, the Almana, and the Levi. God says, they're mine. If you rejoice my family, then God says, I will what? Rejoice your family. So, Ata bincha v'techa, you, your son, your daughter, and your family. Arba Sheli Keneged Arba Shalcha. If you rejoice my family, God says, those that are down and out, right? Nebuchadnezzar, Ger, is friendless, he's a newborn baby, Yosam, the Almana, you are kind to them, you rejoice them, I'll make sure that God says, I'll rejoice your family. The Ger, the Yosam, the Almana. The most repeated mitzvah in the Torah is what? Buy one, get 36. Jews love bargains.
Nice to
V'haftam et hager. Right? Every time you're nice to a ger, you get 36 mitzvahs. V'haftam et hager. Because the Torah knows that the human nature is to what? Discriminate against a ger. It's 36. It's the kingfish of all mitzvahs. And if you mitzayir a ger, you get what? 36 averis. There's a beautiful letter in the JTS library. A friend of mine who's he runs the Re'eh book room there. You ever been up there, 186th Street?
Yes.
There's a letter, I'm telling you, you can cry, you read the letter. The Rambam's handwriting, Avadia Hager. There was a ger called Avadia. Know he called himself Avadia? Because in the book of Avadia, the Navi of Avadia was a ger, right? He writes that the people in his, he writes around the people in his town, they discriminated against him, Rachmiel. They don't even let him daven for the Umid. They don't let him daven for the Umid, because he's a ger. So the Rambam writes back, those wicked people, even though they think that Talmid Chachamim, you are more precious to Hashem than any born Jew. You have more right to daven for the Umid than any born Jew. Hashem loves you more than a born Jew. Such words of encouragement and love to the Avadia Ger, and the Rambam's own precious handwriting, how it comforts him that he should leave that community. They're not good enough for him. And even though they think they know how to learn, if they discriminate against a ger, they get 36 averot.
Where was it?
To Rabbi, I forgot, I saw this in 1986, I'm dating myself. This letter that the Rambam wrote to Avadia Hager. It's in the rare book from the JTS library. He wrote them, and I don't remember where it was, but the letter is still there. Comforting him and telling him how they did commit 36 sins because they treat him with discrimination. If Ruth was alive today, she had a hard time becoming a ger, no? Good thing she became a ger 3,000 years ago, right? Right. And Dafke, she became the grandmother of what? Mashiach. Why couldn't God find a Beis Yaakov girl? Huh? A Beis Rivka girl. What? Why did he have to go to a Ger Tzedek?
Because it's hard to be
So why Dafka Ger Tzedek, man? To teach that what? That God loves a Ger Tzedek more than a born Jew. That's why he made the grandmother of the Melech HaMashiach Dafka a Ger. Stam Mishnah ke Rab Meir. You have a Mishnah with anonymous Masha. Who is Rab Meir? Who does Rab Meir come from? Rab Meir comes from, what's his name? Nero, the Ger. Rabbi Kiva comes from Gerin. The two greatest sages we ever had, Rabbi Kiva and Rab Meir, they come from Gerin. Unculus. Roman, Ger Tzedek. And by the way, Rav Moshe Feinstein was asked, does a Ger Tzedek have to change his name?
Yes.
No. What's the raya? Unculus. Jeder said Mochem. Moshe Feinstein said, Unculus, the great Tana, the great Tzaddik, he didn't call himself Aryaleib. Unculus is a Greek name, a Roman Greek name, and he didn't change his name. Unculus. To prove that a Ger Tzedek does not have to change his name. This is Rav Moshe Feinstein from Unculus. Rav Avigdor Miller Zeretz Havracha brings a raya from the Gemara. In the Gemara you have strange names. Rav Pupa, Rav Papi. Very strange Greek names. You know what Rav Avigdor Miller Zatzal said? These were Gerim. They were Gerim and became great sages. Like Uncle, they didn't change their name. So Rav Avigdor Miller is bringing a raya from the Gemara. Rav Moshe Feinstein is a raya from Unculus that a Ger Tzedek does not have to change his name. They admit the minhag is that they do. But the halach is, they don't have to. Uncle Unculus, Rav Pipi, Rav Papa, Rav Pupi, all these are Greek names. Greek to me. Two great sages, Rav Moshe and Rav Avigdor Miller, bringing rayas, but they admit that the minhag is that a Ger Tzedek does change his name, but he doesn't have to. What about Ruth? Did she change her name? Didn't change her name. Did she?
No.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. She became the grandmother of the Mashiach, no less. Now, Boaz, the chief rabbi, he's the judge of Israel. Boaz married her. Who did Yeshua ben Nun marry? Yeshua ben Nun, the second, Rochav Hazonah. Rochav Hazonah. Couldn't he find a Beis Rivka girl? Yeshua ben Nun. He had to marry Rochav Hazonah. And Rochav Hazonah, she became the great-grandmother of Jeremiah. Not the bullfrog, the prophet. Yeshua ben Nun, this great lady. No matter what she was, a lady of the night, she became the great Tzadekis, Rachav, the first Rebbetzin of Israel, and the great-grandmother of Yirmiyahu. Now I want to ask you, despite her past, or what? Help me, Rav Abraham. I don't think despite her past. I think because of her past. I'll prove it to you. Because David HaMelech says, "V'chatasi negdi tamid." V'chatasi negdi tamid. My sin is always in front of me. Knowing what kind of past she has, that pushed her to heights of greatness she never would have reached if she didn't have such a past. If she didn't have such a wicked past, Bainish, she could have coasted through life. Coast. I think it's called automatic pilot. But because she had such an immoral past, she knew she couldn't rest. She couldn't take a day off. So her past, her evil past, pushed her to heights she never would have reached if it wasn't for her sins. Therefore, a Baal Tshuva stands higher than a Tzaddik Gomer. The Rambam is really that the sins act, I think the word is called cannon fodder. Not mutter. Cannon fodder. The fuel that drove her and Rachav to heights of greatness they never would have reached if it wasn't for their wicked past. Same thing with Ruth. Moab made Las Vegas look like a kindergarten. Moab.
Now Ruth is a Jewish name?
That's right. Like Moshe is not a Jewish name. Elisheva is right. The Gemara in Sota says his Hebrew name was Tuvia. If I was a rich man. Moshe was an Egyptian name that Mrs. Pharaoh's daughter gave him. So how come God never calls him by his Hebrew name, Tuvia? Why does God always call him by his Egyptian name, Moshe? Saita says why? Koras HaTov. The pagan princess saved his life.
Yeah.
So God said, I'm not going to call you the name you got at your bris. I'll call you the name of the pagan princess for eternity. She saved your life. I'm eternally grateful to her.
Her name
God says to the
is
Jewish people. So therefore Moshe became what? A Hebrew name, like Alexander. Alexander the Great. There are many rabbis called Alexander. Isn't that strange? Alexander the Great, he tells us, Josephus, he was very benevolent and kind to the Jewish people. So therefore, as a sign of what? How do you say Koras HaTov in English?
Appreciate.
They named their kids Alexander. Alexander became a Jewish name. Like Moshe became a Jewish
And
name.
Batya, Moshe's mother.
Batya Baspara. Bitya Baspara. Right?
I'm pushing for Kathy.
Batya, right? Sunday at 2 o'clock we have a shir, Masha, it's a cliffhanger. Why a Kohen has to stay away from death, and whether a Kohen can enter the Marat Machpelah is a tzaddik's body mitama or not. That's Sunday at 2. Thank you very much.